Welcome to Transforming Work with Sophie Wade, exploring the future of work. Find out what's going on, disruptions, evolutions, opportunities, challenges, and interventions in our multi-generational distributed organizations. With a new tech and talent focus, discover what you need to know to stay upskilled and relevant and ensure your business keeps its competitive edge. Sophie investigates the promise and reality of the future of work now and as we look ahead. She interviews people who are changing work experiences and practices and shares how we can each transition smoothly and successfully to effective and more productive new ways of working.
Hi. This episode is about understanding and educating Gen Zs before they enter the labor force, preparing them and supporting their launch into the new world of work. If you are a regular listener, thank you. You may be wondering about the recurring thread of Gen Z running through several recent episodes. Here are key reasons for this emphasis. I perceive Gen Zs manifesting the future of work in their reactions, as inexperienced and unfiltered as they are, to the new workplace environments, which can help us all understand more dimensions and details of the new business and work fundamentals, their opportunities and challenges. I observe a concerning and increasing disconnect between older and younger workers that I cannot imagine serves anyone's or any business's best interests. I am aware that many of Gen Z's early experiences and interpretations may be causing them to make employment decisions and take certain pathways that could increase generational and work-related divides with long-lasting effect. I believe it is imperative, therefore, for us all to focus on human-centric, inclusive communication and collaboration to bridge all kinds of diversity, including generational. So I'm delighted to be talking to Winston Peters. Winston is the program director of the entrepreneurship program Entrepreneurs at MC and the new Entrepreneur Center at Manhattan College in New York. He is a co-founder of WÜLF University, a platform for life lessons and entrepreneurial wisdom, and Winston is a principal at MyÜberLife Consulting Group, which focuses on culture-based, data-driven brand and business solutions. Winston is committed to educating and working with entrepreneurs, mostly focused on Generation Z. Hi, Winston. How are you?
I'm well, Sophie. How are you?
I am doing very well, actually, and delighted to be speaking with you about entrepreneurship and how Gen Zs are choosing new pathways, how they're developing new pathways, and obviously how you are helping them on that journey. You've been an entrepreneur. How did you start upon that journey way back? And I'd love to understand how that evolved over time to where you are now.
Sure. So I'll start from the beginning. Well, I'm a civil engineer by education.
Oh.
I didn't know if you knew that or not. I'm a civil engineer by education, graduated from Manhattan College in Riverdale, section of the Bronx in New York City. And, always knew I wanted to be an engineer and graduated with my civil engineering degree and built 5 high-rise in Manhattan, and then I was bored out of my mind.
Okay.
but was living this double life in the downtown cultural scene of New York City, the fashion, music, design space, art space, and had a lot of friends within those ecosystems. They were like, hey, you're an engineer, you're an analytical thinker, and the basic premise of being an engineer is being a problem solver. So they would ask me, can you help me with my $4,000 problem? I'm like, sure. I'm working on projects that are $400 million. So it really wasn't something that was really stressful for me. And that was pretty much the inception of my consultancy. MyÜberLife was really helping create be more structured and organized. One of the founding partners of MyÜberLife Consulting. And once we really figured out our why was really to help creators be more business-minded, helping businesses, individual startups that want to make a real impact in the world. How can we help them, provide them with the right solutions to do so? And with that, working with Fortune 500 companies, working with startups. And a lot of my work was like educating my clients.
What specific elements were you needing to educate your clients on? What particular things did you find surprising or not surprising that they didn't understand or didn't know?
Sometimes it was just the basis of really understanding what a business was, just the business fundamentals. And really, for us, it's really breaking things down into its most empirical forms, and really understanding a lot of individuals are creative and they're able to sell products, but they don't really understand all of the moving parts of a business. So really helping them really understand the business, helping them understand their why and how their why impacts their business. Okay. So a lot of our work was just really educating our clients about a business, about helping them figure out their why, which led us to start our sister company, WÜLF University, which is an educational platform, providing knowledge beyond the classroom to students and creatives. Oh. And a lot of my work is really education, which led me back into academia to my alma mater, becoming an adjunct professor. And so just going back to MyÜberLife, like our consulting, which we consider ourselves traditional management consulting, providing business strategy, brand strategy, marketing strategy to our clients. But for us, it's really understanding that culture is data. And understanding what we see in outside, how can we turn that qualitative data into quantitative data for our clients? We're working with big names like H&M or Uniqlo or Cartier, but also working with smaller brands as well, working with a United Masters as well. Again, providing them insights from what we see and converting that into actionable strategies.
Going from a civil engineer to helping brands like Uniqlo or H&M in terms of understanding youth culture, how did that translate from your background and training?
Well, again, what a lot of people don't know, when they think of an engineer, they just think of someone within an office or with a lot of hardware technology. But again, the basic premise of being an engineer is we're just problem solvers, and been able to really break things down into empirical forms, separating all of the fluff to really solve issues. It's the reason why you see engineers in law, engineers in finance, engineers in business, because we just look to solve problems. We just the learning curve is just understanding the industry, but we look at things very simply in terms of what are the resources, what are the constraints, what needs to be solved, and that's it. It's really breaking down into these very simple forms to solve problems.
You said it very easily and simply. Well, we just started WÜLF University. What problem were you trying to solve then, and how did you do that? That was an online platform?
So for us, what we again, doing a lot of speaking in different institutions, going to different conferences. What we realized in meeting young people is that you have your core education, but there's so many other things that you don't learn inside of the classroom. And I don't like to say soft skills. I think there's no difference between soft skills and hard skills. I think they're just more so human skills that aren't taught in the classroom that everyone needs.
So true.
So for us, it was, how can we give these young people the knowledge beyond the classroom to help them be more successful within their careers? How can they do what we did faster and smarter and more empathetic?
In addition to empathy, what were some of the other key aspects within those interpersonal soft skills that you found were really missing and incredibly needed that you started to help them learn?
I think just a simple concept of collaboration. I think academia does a really good job of making students competitors, and there's nothing wrong with competition. But the way I think about it is there's an over-investment in grades, and from higher education, just from an academia standpoint, and grades are only good for three things. One, getting into college. They already did that. Maintaining your scholarship. And three, if you want to go to grad school. Outside of that, grades don't mean anything.
Yeah, fair enough.
But when you over-invest in grades, you look at everyone in the classroom as competition, not as collaborators. And as we know, in your professional career, it's all about collaboration, and most likely collaborating with people you don't even like. So the sooner you learn,
fair enough.
Just simply said, the sooner you learn the skills of just collaboration, understanding that the person next to you is a collaborator, not competition, the better off you'll be, because then now you actually have that skill, that power skill, that human skill of, okay, how can we win together instead of how can I beat you?
You're needing to shift young mindsets, which are more malleable. They're more open to change at that point than we are later on in life. But how did you take on that reasonably challenging objective of shifting these young people's mindsets to be more collaborative?
I think one, meeting them where they are, and understanding their lifestyle and their consumption patterns, so that I can speak to them in the same language. And so for me, a lot of my strategies is putting the medicine inside of the candy.
Okay, so what does that mean?
So giving them the lesson, but giving them in a way that is entertaining, as well as educational and informative, and something that they can relate to as well.
What's an example of that?
I would say perfect example of that is we would talk about the Super Bowl that recently just happened, and just understanding, talking about Rihanna's halftime show in terms of a marketing lens, from a branding lens, from a business lens, not just looking at it as from entertainment. And let's break this down into multiple different sections, so that we can really understand what we are seeing. And once you build that trust, and then you can add more things into that student educator pipeline to gain that trust, to create more empathy, for them to really understand that you are working for them, that you want the best for them, instead of you're working against them.
Sure. When you are meeting Gen Z where they are, how do you approach them in terms of understanding them, of relating to them as they respond in their own way to the business environment and the changing market conditions that we have now? Because they are very different than when I went and started in the marketplace, than when you started in the marketplace. And I see them reacting naturally, trying to understand it. And it's not necessarily that easy. How are you tackling that aspect of it? Because you're preparing them to go into it.
Yeah, I appear like them. What do I mean like that? I'm not wearing shoes. I'm not wearing a shirt and tie to class, to lecture. I'm not wearing a blazer. I'm dressing like they dress. Because they have to feel comfortable to believe the information that I'm sharing with them. Because a lot of times, a lot of educators are teaching theory and not application. How can a young person, how can an 18-year-old trust an educator to teach them how to create a marketing plan that they have never done before?
Yeah.
So there is a lack of trust there. So the first thing in terms of preparing them or sharing information for them is just building that trust, building that bridge that you know what you're talking about, and so that they can feel comfortable enough to ask questions. That trust is the most important thing. I don't care how smart you are, but if you don't have the trust of a young person, good luck trying to convince them of what you're saying is true or not. So I think that's truly is a starting point of building that trust. So that to break down that wall of this is an older individual. They don't know my lifestyle. No, but for real, I do, because one, I engage with them on a very personal level so that I can understand. So to make education more collaborative.
How do you continue to build on that trust? Obviously, you come in visually looking the part, or visually looking like, I understand, I am closer to you than you might expect. What are the other means that you use to help them understand where you are? You also have told me that you check in with them to see how they're doing. I know that not only is there a trust issue, but we also have a greater percentage of Gen Zs who struggle with mental health issues. We all do, but Gen Zs have greater challenges with them. And I do believe it's very much part of our environment. And they also look to older people and who don't necessarily understand what they're going through. So you said you very purposefully check in at the beginning of any discussion, any lecture, or any session. How does that go?
Well, it's super important for me to check in because one, I genuinely care for all of my students. Genuinely care about how are they doing. Like, I don't have to teach, I want to teach. So that's just something I let them know from day one, that I genuinely care about them. And for me, it's understanding the energy in the room. And so that I know what energy I need to give back to them. And so for me, it's giving them space to share whatever they want to share during that time. Some students, I remember one situation, students told me that their dog died and they're just really just out of it. And I was like, okay, got it. So I don't want to assume that if you are distant or if you are aloof, that you are just blowing me off. I want to have that context so I know where you are, and put a number rating to, like, where your energy level at today. Oh, I'm at a 5. Oh, I'm at a 6. I'm at a 10. Okay, now I know who's energetic. I know what the average of the room is. So I know what average I need to bring, because, and I bring it back into the classroom, bring it back into the lesson plan, is that the difference between good marketers and great marketers is that great marketers are always checking in on their customer to understand their needs, their wants, their aspirations, their pain points, their desires, to better serve them, to better provide products and services for them. For that hour and 30 minutes, my students are my customers, and I'm the company trying to meet or exceed their expectations. So for me, it's setting the tone in the beginning of the class is very key, just to understand where their energy is, who's good, who's not, who doesn't want to be here, and how to navigate that space. Because when I take a survey, about 99% of my students, their professors have never asked them how they're doing, because a lot of educators just teach in a bubble. Once you walk into my room, nothing else matters. Where personal and professional, they blend.
Right. In order for these students to actually be comfortable sharing, I'm a 3 out of 10, I'm guessing that you have said, I mean, you can't necessarily say, hey, look, I'm a 2, so I'm going to give a crappy lecture today. But
Actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Actually, I remember where was I? I flew back from Las Vegas. I went straight to class. And they asked me, like, how are you doing today? I'm like, I'm at a 4 because I just took a red eye. Or I remember, I was driving and got hit by a car, and like, okay, you know what? My day is not going so well, but at least you know where I'm at, and I'm creating that space, that vulnerability, to let you know where I'm at, so you can feel comfortable. Let me know where you are, even if you might not say it in the classroom. You can pull me to the side and say, "Hey, professor, this is happening," or that is happening. Just wanted to give you that context, so you don't assume, because we are judging machines as human beings by what we see as data, by pattern matching. So if someone is distant, you're like, okay, they might be blowing me off, and when really something deeper might be happening.
I'm curious as to how they responded when they said, okay, so you're a 4, you've just come from Las Vegas, which has its own narrative that goes with it, and you've done a red eye. Did they say, well, Professor, shall we actually help run the class for you, because you're kind of like on a low energy level now?
Actually, what it did is make them perk up, because, okay, if they see me coming in on a red eye, and I'm still giving 90%, you know what? And I'm dorming, and I live on a dorm 5 minutes away from class, and I'm saying I'm tired. You know what? I don't have an excuse.
Sure. Okay. Fair enough. In addition to the trust that you create by showing them that you're relatable, what are the other ways that you showed your vulnerability and helped them connect with you, just to be able to ask those questions? Because I think some of the dynamics which aren't as positive, or professors going in and teaching at people. It takes work and it takes some effort, and definitely being vulnerable and creating that vulnerability with students, which a lot of people aren't so comfortable with. What are the other ways that you greet and get to know a new class?
So, great question. And one of the ways for me to break down those walls and as well as build trust is the first homework assignment that I give my students. First day of class, I give them the syllabus. The first homework assignment is, what is your learning style? How do you like to learn? How do you like to take in information? And because if you do a survey, I would say probably 99% of students will tell you that no professor has ever asked them how do they like to learn, or how do they take in information.
And do they know?
Some of them know. Some of them have a clue. Some of them don't have a clue. But it's the process. It's the journey of thinking like, oh wow, this person wants to actually know, how do I like to learn? Right. My whole academic career, I've been taught to. No one has asked me, oh, I'm a visual learner. I need examples. I need videos. I need in-class assignments to learn better. I had one student who wrote me, when I asked the question for the assignment, they told me I can't take notes in class and listen to you at the same time.
Okay.
And so I'm like, okay, I need to see and hear, and they can't dual process of write notes and listen at the same time. I'm like, okay,
interesting,
got it. So again, creating more context. So when I see you in class and you're not taking notes, I don't see you as you just blowing me off. It is your It is your process for learning.
Fascinating. And a key element of that is having asked the question and then getting them to think about it, which then starts that process of that interactive process with you as you're going forward. That's fantastic. So now going to the entrepreneurial piece of this and helping them, putting that entrepreneurial hat on. You've been teaching them marketing. You've been helping them understand these very important soft skills. Now you're helping them develop a business. You're now, congratulations, you're now starting to run the Entrepreneurship Center at Manhattan College. How are you approaching that with all these different lenses and experiences that you're bringing to this center, and the surge of interest that I see in young people wanting to be entrepreneurs, sometimes very specifically to be not having to go into the corporate world for all kinds of reasons, like I'm rejecting how people have to work like that, how people get treated, and I want to choose my own path. And there are huge numbers in terms of how many young people want to be going down the entrepreneurial path. So
at Manhattan College, I've been the director of the entrepreneurship program for 2 years, called Entrepreneurs at MC, which is experiential learning as well as a combination of where the intersection of experiential learning as well as your academics within your classroom working together. And this week, actually Thursday, will be the opening ceremony of the Entrepreneurship Center on campus, which I'm very excited about. But going back is, again, understanding where the students are. And from my experience, students fall into four buckets plus one. They are the students that want to be entrepreneurs. They already have that entrepreneurial mindset. They might already have a small venture that they're generating revenue from. That's the first bucket. Second bucket of students are students that want to work at a startup. They don't necessarily want to be a founder, but they want to have startup experience. They don't want to be employee number 7,863.
Right.
The third bucket of students are students that want to be entrepreneurs. They want to build businesses inside of corporations. They want to have that corporate structure, corporate backing, corporate machine behind them, but have that independence of building new properties, new businesses inside of an organization. And then there's the fourth bucket of students, the students who just want to learn about entrepreneurship because those skill sets they can use on whatever career path that they choose. And then there's the plus one. Students that want to be on the other side of entrepreneurship, they want to be on the VC angel investor side. So for me, it's understanding that which bucket does the students fall into and providing programming that relates to each one of those buckets of students. And from what I'm seeing there is interesting because from the pandemic, young people they want to have ventures because one revenue stream is close to no revenue stream. It isn't about having a corporate job or being an entrepreneur. It's being anti-fragile and having multiple revenue streams. But I think what we spoke about earlier is understanding what is the root, not the symptom. The root is financial stability.
Yeah.
And how do you get financial stability? Number one, and two, fulfillment.
Yeah.
And so when you ask, students want to be, Gen Zers want to be more entrepreneurial, I think they're looking for financial freedom and as well as financial stability, as well as fulfillment. And what path leads them to that end goal? That's really is what the journey is taking them on.
Aside from those who are taking the entrepreneurship path, it's a lot to do with the 60% of millennials and Gen Zs who have those side hustles. And yes, I'm very much seeing that so much of it is about creating that financial stability or some kind of security, that they have sort of financial cushion, whichever one they are going to choose potentially to focus on in a singular fashion later on. But for the most part, it is about having those multiple revenue streams.
And having those multiple revenue streams, but also for a lot of them, from my experience, the students that I have engaged with is, yes, they want to have a corporate job because so they can understand corporate structure. They are not fans of corporate culture. So they want to understand corporate structure. They want to understand best practices. So how they can implement those best practices and those industry standards into their own venture themselves, instead of recreating the wheel.
Interesting. What are the key things that you're finding that they're focusing on, that they want to learn out of the business world and the corporate environment that they think is going to be key to their success going forward?
Two things that I have pinpointed is, one, understanding financials, the financial component of it, of operating a business, or understanding what a P&L is, understanding AUM and ARR, just understanding the lingo of business, but also creating contacts, creating those relationships, because what a lot of people don't realize, like after you graduate college, you don't have any friends. Like the only friends that you do have are the people that you went to college with, and if you were lucky enough to have an internship, the people that you work with at said internship. Outside of that, you don't know anyone. So where does the student who studied finance meet the creative director at a fashion brand? They don't meet. You just end up meeting more finance people. So for young people is, how can I create relationships, and get paid for it on the job in an industry that I might be interested in furthering my career in.
I'm trying to understand how young people, as they're going through college or coming out of high school and trying to work out what career they want. And it looks to me like there's so much variety, there's so many different choices. It doesn't make sense really to be trying to fix upon a career yet. It's much more about trying to explore different options, different ideas. Let's try some marketing. Let's try sales, understand finance, all these different pieces. And then later on, I can choose something. What do you see in terms of how they're thinking about careers? Because it really sounds like they're learning these different skills that they are trying to pick up and prepare themselves going forward. What are the other things that you see them very purposefully working on?
It's actually sad to say, it is a lot of students, they're hyper-focused on finding that six-figure job. Not really exploration, because a lot of students aren't fortunate to have a full scholarship. A lot of them have to take loans out for for their education. So now, if they know they're coming out of college with six figures in debt, high six figures in debt, they're going in thinking, what six-figure job can I get? Instead of really exploring and finding out who they are and having that maturation, they're like hyper focused on figuring out how can I make six figures so that I can pay back these loans, because 6 months after graduation, loan payments start. But then there's the other side of the spectrum where students, they want to be fulfilled, and taking on that journey, like, where am I fulfilled? Not where am I most secure, where I want to have a job where I'm fulfilled. I want to be in a healthy environment. And what path does that take me down? Maybe that takes me down entrepreneurship, or it takes me down a different career path, a corporate job where I can be fulfilled.
Yes, I am so concerned about the amount of debt that the average student graduates with. I think the last number I looked at, the average was $30,000. And for a young person in an environment where they have no job security, I think that must be terrifying.
And so it's very terrifying, because now once you get a job, now you are kind of locked into that job, because now you have a little bit disposable income, and now you're paying back that loan. So now you can't lose that job, because you have to pay back those loans, and now you're paying for your apartment or wherever you're staying. You want that kind of stability. So a lot of young people, from my experience, have taken jobs so that they can live.
Right.
So that they can survive, not thrive.
Yes. So the way I look at some of the research which talks about job hopping, I don't look at it as being job hopping. I look at it as making moves to learn new skills so that they can continue to be competitive and make sure that they continue to be able to keep jobs and keep growing and then earning more money in order to be able to keep paying off that debt.
Some of it is, yes, I agree with you there, but some of it is a lack of grit as well, in terms of being challenged in a way that they haven't been challenged before in their career. And once they faced with failure or faced with challenging times, like, from some of my experience, they see it as a toxic environment. If you're being challenged to work harder, or your work isn't good enough. Something I do within my classroom to prepare my students for their professional career is I tell them I don't give extra credit. There is no extra credit in any of my classes from day one. And they're shocked. They're like, oh my gosh, you don't give any extra credit? I'm like, no, there is no extra credit in my class. You know why? Because there's no extra credit in your professional career. If you mess up, you just have to do better. No boss has ever said, oh, Sophie, you messed up. Here's this nice, pretty project for you to do so you could feel better. No boss has ever said that. And so you have to take your losses and just do better. And some students have not experienced that, have not experienced just having failed and not being still being rewarded.
Okay. I'm glad you're helping people prepare for that. What are some of the other aspects of what you're trying to convey and teach at the center that you feel is really important now and may not have been as important in previous times, because you've been in the entrepreneurship space for a long time. So what are key aspects now, which I think may be something newer?
I think one of the fundamental things that I instill in the students that I work with is you're dealing with human beings. Like, understand that you're dealing with, yes, you are creating a product, but how do you, who cares? Like, have you spoken to other individuals? Have you engaged with people to get feedback? And just understand, like, human beings only care about two things. In its most fundamental empirical form, human beings only care about two things on this planet. How are you going to help them survive, and how are you going to help them thrive? How are you going to solve their problem? How are you going to add value to their life? Everything that you do in your day falls into those two buckets. If you really think about it, everything, like how is this going to solve my problem? How is this going to make my life better?
Right. Okay.
And with that is that changes the shift in mind. Like, okay, I'm dealing with people. I'm not just trying to create a product to sell. Okay, what does the human component? How does this help a human being? Not just this product that does this activity. How does this make a human being's life better? And how can you speak to that? How is this going to make my life better?
So what haven't I asked you about what you're doing now, the Entrepreneurship Center, as well as anything that you are teaching and communicating to all the young people around the U.S., at least, these days?
What am I doing now? Right now, something I'm very excited about. I'm just received a grant from the Department of Energy to work on a competition for a blue energy project, blue economy project, which is converting water current to electricity, for reusable electricity with students. And so right now I'm working with a group of 10 students working on a startup idea that will convert water current into reusable electricity. For me, it is how can I teach young people how to work together and understand everyone's value in a group. And everyone has value. You just figure out what is your superpower that you bring to the table, and really discovering that, and how can you be a contributor for the overall success. Because my class is a team. I tell my class, everyone in here we're all on one team. And just going back to the classroom for a second, like I have a no phone policy in my classroom. No phones. But if 3 strikes, and then if by the 3rd strike, if I see someone with their phone, because at that young age, it's hard to do a process. I barely could do a process, but definitely at 18, it's definitely very challenging to do a process. And training, and also giving you these life lessons of being able to lock in. Like you're off your phone for an hour and a half, you have to lock in. Definitely in your professional career, you'll have to be able to lock in for a certain amount of period of time. But also, just going back to the no phone policy, is if I catch someone with their phone by the 3rd strike, I don't take away that person's phone. I take away everyone else's phone.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh my gosh.
That person gets to keep their phone, but everyone's phones get taken away.
Oh, Winston, that's brilliant. Oh my God. So they're like, dude, put the phone away.
So now everyone's working as a team.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Everyone's working as a team. Everyone now is accountable. Like, do you want to be that person that causes everyone to get their phone taken away?
That is amazing. And I want to go back to one thing that you just said as part of this answer, which is about superpowers. How do you help people understand their skills? We're now focused on how to help people appreciate and articulate their skills. How do you do that?
I do that by first homework assignment. First homework, like, I ask them the question, what do you want to learn that's not on the syllabus?
Oh.
What do you want to put into your tool belt for success?
That's great. And what kind of answers do you get?
All over the highway. But a lot of them is how to market themselves in professional environments.
Okay.
But they're all over the highway. But for me, it's understanding, yes, I have to teach these 16 lesson plans, this core syllabus and core curriculum. But what is the things that you want to learn that you feel might help you in your professional career, that you want to learn for yourself?
I want your first homework assignment. I think that's brilliant. They must be so excited, actually, when they get their first homework from you. Like, oh, I love this class. This is awesome.
And then in the classroom, at the end of each class, I'll probably go over one of the students' questions or their response, just to give them something to put into their toolkit that they wanted to learn.
Winston, my last question is, what can people doing today whatever age phase of their career they are, that can help them. I think perhaps understanding Gen Zs, understanding the entrepreneurial mindset. What is it that is an element that you think could be useful to listeners that can help them tomorrow in their entrepreneurship work?
Couple of things. Multi-parted answer. One, if you're an older individual, have a little bit more empathy for Gen Zers. What a lot of people don't realize is that they're under a lot of pressure. And when I say that is, a lot of people don't think that a Gen Zer, born in 2004, 2005, they're born into mass shooting culture. So imagine from elementary school, middle school, high school, you've been trained, these gun drills, these mass shooting drills since you were 5 years old. What type of anxiety that puts into your system.
Terrible.
So, one, have a little bit more empathy for Gen Z, because I know for sure myself, and maybe you, we've never had to deal with, the most we had to do is deal with a fire drill. But never had to deal with, a mass shooting drill since you were 4 years old. But have a little bit more empathy for a young person, because that's just one layer of pressure that we as adults have never had to deal with.
Yeah.
And two is really ask for Gen Zers, as well as other people, like ask the deeper questions about fulfillment.
Okay. Because
there is no security, whether you have a corporate job or whether you're an entrepreneur or you're an intrapreneur. No, there is no security. But what you can strive for is fulfillment, and helping each other find fulfillment. And what does fulfillment actually look like? Doing that self-discovery. What does fulfillment look like within your career? Not just have it just be a monetary reward.
That's a beautiful way to end. And I think that is very helpful in terms of framing how we work together, both in terms of providing that sense of community, that sense of safety and security, and also helping each other on that journey to fulfillment. So thank you very, very much for sharing everything you have today.
Thank you, Sophie, for having me.
Thank you again so much to Winston Peters. You can follow Winston on LinkedIn and Twitter at WINCEP_OFMUL, WINCP_OFMUL, and Instagram at professor.P_OFMUL. To find out more about the Entrepreneur Center at Manhattan College, go to manhattan.edu, and Entrepreneurs at MC is under the O'Malley School of Business. To find out more about MyÜberLife Consulting Group, go to myuberlife.com, myuberlife.com. Immediate action tip. First, if you are older, have a bit more empathy for Gen Z. They are under a lot of pressure, such as US Gen Z's anxiety associated with the mass shooting culture they have been born into. Second, ask Gen Zs the deeper questions about fulfillment. There's no job security. So how can you help each other find fulfillment, and what does that look like? If you would like to develop, lead, and manage with a human-centric mindset, please pick up or listen to my new book, Empathy Works: The Key to Competitive Advantage in the New Era of Work. Empathy is a core value, mindset, and skill that, when infused into your thinking and behavior, enables you to shift to more human-centric interactions, improving results, and also influencing your teams and other co-workers to respond in kind. If you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to subscribe, tell a friend, as well as like it. And I would greatly appreciate you writing a quick review wherever you listen. For regular video updates, curated useful articles, research, and information, follow me on LinkedIn and Twitter at @SophieWade. For more information to help navigate this period of transformation, you can also sign up for my Work in Progress newsletter on LinkedIn and on my blog, which is available on sophiewade.com and flexcelnetwork.com. Until next time.